you just want to tell us a little bit about your book, Nullification, and what effects you think that have had that you've seen thus far after the release of the book.
Well, it seems to have attracted a lot of grassroots interest, certainly my book, Nullification, more than I expected at some level, because I knew that the major TV and radio people would pretend it didn't exist, which they continue to do, and yet somehow it's made such a stir in Idaho that they even had hearings recently in support or against a nullification bill that was proposed with regard to health care. And hundreds of people attended this thing. The ABC station right around, I guess, Boise, even did a 2-minute report in which about my book and the influence it was having, and the governor had read it, and the state legislators had read it. I mean, this was really, and now this is going on in a number of states where they're trying to implement it, and there's a state, I don't want to say now because I don't want to jinx it, but 44 organizations co-sponsored a letter to the legislative leadership saying, we urge you to meet with Tom Woods to talk about state nullification as the rightful remedy, and so on and so forth. And these were major, this wasn't like, Joe's, 3-guy Tea Party in his basement. I mean, these were big groups, some Tea Parties and some others. So, and also what I've had to do because of the inevitable smears and attacks, oh, Woods is a bad guy, and da-da-da-da, I wrote up basically a very systematic reply to all the objections that you could come up with. I put that if you go to statenullification.com and you read that, toward the end I say, don't forget to read my answering the objections, and I've got them there. But basically, legislators and politicians and newspapers are running into a very informed populace that they have not seen before.
Great. Well, moving forward into your book that you've just released, Rollback. Obviously, there's the spending by the federal government. We have bigger government. Lots of people buying into the propaganda. It's hard to escape. What prompted you on a personal level to write this book?
Well, I in particular was interested in writing Rollback because at the time I came up with the idea, the Tea Party movement was in its beginnings, and I figured that the chances were pretty great that the Tea Party movement would be taken over by the Dick Morrises of the world, who wanted to tame them and make sure that their proposals weren't too outside the box. I mean, we have to be respectable and everything. And I was afraid they would just get swept up in the let's slightly cut the rate of growth, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that is so far from where we need to be. We need to stick a dagger through the heart of all the various claims government makes for itself about what ignoramuses we'd be without it, and we wouldn't have any art or science, and the poor would be dying in the streets and all that. Well, I mean, we've got to just smash this, because this is an insult to the human race, in effect, to make these claims. And so I wanted a book that would give an alternative to these people and say, you can have Dick Morris, and nothing will change, and the collapse will come. Or you can think a little bit differently. You can think in a way that the New York Times has not approved for you, and maybe we might get somewhere.
Okay. Well, then that brings us to 2011 and the oncoming year. What would you recommend to Campaign for Liberty members that they focus on, and where they should put their energies and their efforts?
Well, I suppose it's possible that some of us could be devoted to presidential campaign work. It's speculative at this point, and but I mean, I'm just thrilled with what people have been doing, and the Young Americans for Liberty have been doing, and I mean, somehow they've been able to get the word out about so many things that I've noticed a difference in how many people come to my speaking engagements. I mean, it's twice or 3 times as many people now, and it's not so much because I'm so good at getting the word out, it's because these young kids have such organizational ability and so much energy, and they don't shut up. And, well, I would say those are qualities to focus on in 2011. Michael Bolden of the 10th Amendment Center, he and I told him, because he once said on a radio interview, I was about to come on, and so the host said to him, well, what can you tell me about Tom Woods? And he said, Tom Woods is 110% awesomeness. And so I thought, that is really funny. I never heard anything like that. So I said to him, you know what, Michael, we should shoot for 111% awesomeness in 2011. So our motto is 111 in 11. So that's my advice for all of us, and my encouragement to everybody. 111 in 11, baby.